Well, I'm shocked, like everyone else in the hockey world, really. I mean, I know there was rumors that started to filter out throughout the evening on Thursday, and as time went on, you were hoping against hope that these were just rumors, and as horrible a rumor as it was, you were just hoping it wasn't true. I mean, I went to bed, there was no confirmation of this story. I was hoping when I'd get up, we'd find out that it was just a misunderstanding of some kind. But unfortunately, our worst fears were realized, and I just feel so much for their family. I mean, it's devastating, the word the Columbus Blue Jackets used in their statement. It's heartbreaking. Guy Gaudreau, he's a fixture down there in South Jersey, taught Johnny and Matt how to play, and at that Hollydale ice rink down there, I've had the good fortune of being down there and meeting Guy on a couple of occasions, and Gloucester Catholic, a high school he was coaching, Johnny and Matthew played for him, and they put kind of high school hockey on the map in South Jersey, and such a huge impact in the hockey community, and that's why, you know, as hockey fans and people who have a love and passion for the sport, we share that, whether we have the ability to play or whether we are just fans or like us, Tony, in the media. And I think, you know, we are really all devastated to hear this kind of news. Two young people, 31 and 29, Matthew's brother just 29, and family members, young families. It's really just a senseless, unspeakable tragedy, and just amazingly heartbreaking.
Horrific. You mentioned Matthew, who, of course, became the head coach at that high school, yep, Gloucester, that was so important to them. Mm-hmm. And he, too, senselessly lost in this tragedy. Both brothers. It is so difficult to accept as we look at the career resume of Matthew Gaudreau. He was also a Boston College Eagle. They left such an indelible impact. Everybody you talk with remembers both of them so fondly.
Well, these guys, I mean, they just did nothing but work and try to get there. Now, Johnny was the better of the players. He made, you could see the two there, as, you know, Johnny was part of that national championship team at BC. They played together for a year there at BC, kind of overlapped. And, you know, it's hard to put it into words, really. I mean, but these guys just worked. They loved hockey. They had a passion for it. I can remember the first time I met Johnny Gaudreau was getting ready to do the broadcast for the 2013 World Juniors, and they were practicing at the Rangers practice facility in suburban New York in Westchester County. And I remember, you know, seeing him, and I'd heard a lot about Johnny Gaudreau, and I was like, wow, this guy, he's small. Like, how is he going to play? But he never let that stop him. I mean, he was just someone who understood how he had to play to be effective and to be a great player. And he went on to great heights, like I said, winning a national title at the NCAA, winning in the USHL in Dubuque there with Jim Montgomery as his coach, a gold medal with that Team USA World Junior team in 2013. I mean, he was part of so much winning in his career, and he helped the Calgary Flames in the first part of his career. He had a terrific start to his career in Calgary, moved on to Columbus, where he was trying to be part of something that turned around. And he, in part, I mean, you think about it, he moved to Columbus in a lion's share was to be closer to family. And that was a big part of it for Johnny. So, again, I mean, those of us who, you know, we follow this game, we have a passion for it, we're kind of bound by it. It's a tie that does bind us, and we all feel this hurt and this loss today, and our hearts go out to the entire Gaudreau family, and really in particular for Guy and Jane, who lost two sons.
I think about when my path fortunately crossed with Johnny Gaudreau on several occasions. The one word that came to mind again and again was cool. This guy was so cool, so engaging, so likable. The way movie stars are cool. He was not arrogant at all, very confident, but very fun to be around, very likable. And as I think back to the times I got to talk with him, every single time he was having fun. The joy of hockey just emanated from him. What a marvelous, marvelous experience it was to be able to cross paths with him. We pivot now to Columbus, which is what Johnny did himself, playing a couple of seasons there, and you can already see the outpouring of emotion at Nationwide Arena as we welcome in Aaron Portzline. a larger-than-life player and personality and just all-around likable. Aaron, what are you hearing?
I mean, just profound sadness, utter devastation. I think it's Johnny Gaudreau transcended sports, one of the few NHL guys in this country, at least, that could reach beyond his league. And people knew Johnny Hockey, the nickname registered with people. Utter devastation among hockey fans, certainly in Calgary, certainly in Columbus, in Boston, where he played, his hometown. I think everyone is trying to just comprehend what the Gaudreau family is going through right now. The parents who lost their two beloved sons just in the blink of an eye. The sisters, one of whom was to be married today, devastated. Johnny Gaudreau's wife, now a widow with two kids under the age of 2. It's just, this would be devastating on so many levels if all of those things were in place, but it's just so utterly difficult to comprehend, I think, for so many people. And my thoughts certainly first and foremost have been with the Gaudreau family. And I feel like there are so many people and we always, as you age and go through really difficult parts of life, there's a clear desire to be able to do something to lift the burden, if only for a few moments, off people who are just overwhelmed by it, have to be, and just wishing that were possible today. That's kind of where my mind has been at all day.
Yeah, really, really well said, Aaron. And, you got to know Johnny and maybe his family there in Columbus. Who in your mind was Johnny Gaudreau, the guy that you got to meet over the last couple of years?
Yeah, well, one thing that's abundantly clear, even in the early days of a relationship with a player, is just how much family meant to Johnny Gaudreau. That's why he was in Columbus. I mean, that's why he left Calgary to come to Columbus, which could not have been easy. He wanted to be closer to family. He wanted to have his parents be able to visit him with a drive, a day's drive, an afternoon's drive. I think the other thing that always resonated with me, and we know these guys on the level, certainly wasn't friends with Johnny. I don't want to misrepresent the relationship, but you interact with him enough to get some level of a vibe. And the one I always got with him is a player who had an incredible aura across this game, especially young players, especially players who are smaller in stature. They looked at him as proof that it could be done. So there was always a sense of awe with so many fans and so many of his teammates. And that's almost the last thing that Johnny Gaudreau wanted. He could be incredibly disarming. From all of that, he didn't want to be seen in that light. And I've said this a few times today, in a room full of guys making a lot of money and dressing accordingly, with some pretty fancy clothes, Gaudreau on an off day would have, a T-shirt that should have been retired probably 7 years ago. The typical guy with flip-flops. Like he wore a suit on game day, but this was a chill guy who just kind of wanted. It was all fun for him. Hockey was so much fun for him, and I think the real special aspect of him as a player is that fun that he played with, the joy that he played with, really emanated from him into the seats and through the cameras to people watching at home. It was just a game that was played with an incredible amount of energy and passion.
Aaron Portzline in Columbus, thanks so much. Stunned sadness all over the hockey world. Matthew and Johnny Gaudreau side by side there. Boston College Eagles, both of them. This statement from USA Hockey: our heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, whose lives ended way too soon. Words cannot appropriately express the sorrow the hockey community is feeling today. Blake Coleman, former teammate of his, completely gutted. The world just lost one of the bests. R.I.P. Johnny, alongside Coleman's daughter. And this, a fellow South Jersey sports standout, Mike Trout, devastated by the loss of Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, sending my deepest condolences and love to their family. Part of our family here is Mike Rupp, and you and I had an amazingly memorable experience when Johnny Gaudreau came here. We've been here 9 years. Only one person ever got a haircut in the makeup room. This guy was so cool. I know you remember it as vividly as I do.
Yeah, I mean, I remember this is I think after his rookie year in the NHL, and we were having him in studio, and there's a lot of hype around that in the building, right? It's a big deal. We got Johnny Hockey in the building, and Tone and I we went down and kind of saw him sitting in the chair, and it's just like you're at a barbershop, right? We don't usually see that when we have guests at NHL Network, but he had the cape on, he's getting the haircut, feet are dangling, and I'm thinking, this guy's lighting up the NHL like this. Like, this isn't supposed to happen. And that's the thing that kind of jumps out to me with Johnny Gaudreau. He defies all odds, right? Like, it's not supposed to happen. He's not supposed to be able to do what he's done in his hockey career as an 18-year-old scoring a massive goal in the national championship game for Boston College. Or, you think back just a couple of seasons ago, he was leading the best line in the National Hockey League up there in Calgary. So, that's the thing that jumped out to me as you look at him, and I'm like, how does he do it? But he was just an absolute magician out there on the ice.
Rupper, you were a guy that played in the league. You were a bigger player. You understand, how hard it is for a smaller player. You took note of it when you saw him. I did the same thing the first time I met him, getting ready for the World Juniors in 2013. Give me your thoughts on just how he was able to do it, because it's so rare, someone that, isn't the biggest guy, but yet he could dominate games and really take hold of a game offensively.
Well, you know what, Eej, it's like when I think of Johnny Gaudreau, and again, just hearing the stories, I didn't know him, didn't know the family, but we've always heard from the father working at the rinks to Matthew and him. They're rink rats. Like, yeah. That's what they were. They were in the rinks all the time working on their game. And to me, I think that just showed. I mean, he had a mind for the game. And a lot of times you see players that have elite talent, but sometimes they lack in other areas. He had everything. He had complete inventory all over the ice. We know what a great passer is. He's one of the greatest passers our game has seen in the last 10 years. But he also, he knew with that size where everybody was at on the other team as well, because he had to protect himself. And Johnny never really took some big hits on the ice, because I just felt like he had a great mind for the game. So for all the kids out there that are aspiring hockey players, I mean, Johnny Gaudreau is the perfect example right there. You put the time in, you work, and you do it for the love of the game, man. This guy made himself an absolute star in this league.
A star indeed. I sat at this desk next to Scott Stevens, and we were watching Johnny Gaudreau, and he said, Tony, don't get carried away, but his feel for where to get to on the ice, the quiet areas, reminds me of Wayne Gretzky. I lost my mind because it was such a wonderful compliment, and it really summed up what you and EJ just talked about. The heart, the determination of Johnny Gaudreau beyond hockey. I think that's part of why the hockey world is so devastated by this. His personality, his likability. On your show, we would watch all these great interviews in depth with hockey players. This has hit the hockey community so hard. Why?
Well, but just because he's always been so kind. He's been so kind with the media. All the teammates have loved him. You hear the stories from over the years about Johnny Gaudreau. And I think we're talking about him as the hockey player because that's what we watched him as. But then also, coming off that career year for him, 115 points, top line in the NHL, like I referred to when he was in Calgary, all of a sudden it's like he's a free agent. He's the biggest guy out there. And what he does here, and I think this is what gives you a glimpse of him as a human too, in the human element of playing in the National Hockey League. he wanted to move back home, be closer to the family. Signs with the Columbus Blue Jackets. And it's just, this guy's a family man. So as great as he was on the ice, I mean, he's revered off the ice as being just as great, if not greater, as a human being, and putting his family first. So, man, just an absolutely devastating day in the National Hockey League and across the sports world.
So true. Mike Rupp, thanks so much for joining us. Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Gaudreau, gone far too soon.